It was the 19th century, and the influence of British Raj was expanding in India like a wild forest fire. Those were the crazy times when all that the Britishers did was to build railway tracks, sip on chai, overthrowing monarchs and replacing them with their puppet monarchs, sip on more chai. But this story is about what happened in far east corner of this country, in a place called Naga Hills, or how it is today known as Nagaland. The first acquaintance of Britishers with Nagas happened when the Britishers were trying to find a route from Manipur to Assam through Naga Hills, with the aid of soldiers from Manipur Kingdom. The first British outpost in Naga Hills was in Samagoteng. This place is today known as Jomukedima. To the bad luck of Britishers, the native tribe which lived in this region were called Angamis. Angami were warrior through and through. Even the British records on Angami spoke highly of their battle skills. Life in Samagoteng was tough, the food was scarce, and water had to be manually carried from ponds and lakes with the help of locals. And if diarrhea or malaria didn't kill them, wait till you know that they had to ascend and descend 2000 feet to reach Angami region. Life in Naga Hills was not for faint-hearted by any means. Samagoteng turned out to be a blunder for Britishers. Realizing they cannot manage the Naga Hills from a place which barely let them breathe, they scouted for better real estate. The options? Voka, a Lotha Naga paradise, also called the Land of Tenti, and Kohima, the biggest Angami village, conveniently located to micromanage the Angamis. Kohima was chosen as it helped Britishers to keep watchful eyes on Angamis and spoil their raiding fun. The Britishers were dependent on supplies from neighboring villages, but the Angamis were buying it. Not only they were furious about the Britishers squatting on the land, they also didn't appreciate being treated like a grocery service. In September 1879, Mr. G.H. Damant, the man in charge of Kohima, was facing great difficulties, with no food, no friends, and surrounded by angry hosts.
We are running out of supplies. What shall we do? Maybe we can ask Maharaja of Manipur to help us.
Damant wrote to Maharaja of Manipur for supplies.
Maharaj, help us with some food.
The Maharaj declined because it was a traditional policy to prevent export of rice for fear of the F word, famine.
Maybe we can request the tribals to help us with food.
Again, gentlemen, what shall we do?
We should force the tribals to give up their supplies.
I approve. Ready, my house.
With Manipur shutting the door, Mr. Damant turned up the pressure on nearby villages for supplies. One such village was Khonoma. Not the biggest village by head count, but certainly the most battle-hardened village. A threat from one of its members was as good as a death sentence for folks from weaker villages.
You breathe too loud. You redcoat man, you are walking into a trap.
Did he say trap?
Keep walking.
But he did say trap. Yes, and I'm falling for it. Damant had been warned several times by Nagas who knew better, but instead, he marched straight to the gates of Khonoma. Sir, the door is shut.
Thanks, soldier. I couldn't have figured it out myself. Let me in.
Why?
So that I can save you. From what? From what I'm going to do to you if you don't let me in.
Damant was shot, and rest of the soldiers were either ambushed or they fled. News of Damant troops getting ambushed in Khonoma spread like wildfire. Few survivors stumbled back to Kohima. They were outnumbered and out of rice. Kohima headquarters went full panic mode. Nearby Angami villages were rising in arms. Desperate messages were shot to Voka and Manipur. Voka answered swiftly with 50 men. Major Johnstones was the British political agent in Manipur. The moment he heard that Kohima was under attack, a wave of anxiety hit him. He scrambled whatever troops he could find, including what Maharaja of Manipur had to offer. Save us all, Maharaj! I need your cavalry and your infantry ASAP to rescue Kohima garrison. To which the Maharaja said, "You son of a gun, I'm in. And also some of that sinju I had last night." And thus, Johnstone set off to rescue of British garrison at Kohima. Mr. Colley, the assistant political agent in Kohima, was now in charge of the damage control. He brought on one of the two stockades and crammed everyone into other, making his position as strong as possible. Meanwhile, the Nagas raised a stockade opposite to the Britishers. A fierce exchange of fire began, but the Nagas were in no hurry. They had planned to starve the British out. The Nagas threw stones wrapped in burning clothes onto the British side, managing to burn a building inside the British stockade. The British garrison eventually veered out. They sent up a white flag and negotiation began.
Alright, gentlemen, we have come here to discuss terms for surrender.
কি কৈ আছে?
My Dobashi, time for you to shine.
তাই সারেন্ডার করে বলে মন আছে ঠিক আছে কহিমা ছাড়ি কেনে চুমুকে দিমা वापस যাই যাবি
Sir, Johnstone has arrived. Sorry, folks. Surrender cancel.
প্ল্যান বাদাল আমি খান সারেন্ডার না করিব লড়াব কি আমি খান লড়াব Pardon my Nagamese, folks. Even I don't know what was that. Let's just call it Nagamese. Ish. Johnstones had arrived from Manipur as a last-minute plot twist, marching along with Kacche Police, British India Battalion, Manipur Infantry, and Kuki Irregulars. The tables were now very much turning. Now, you might ask, wait, how did he march through the deadly rebelling Angami territory? A good question. The answer? Johnstones took Angami prisoners as his insurance policy and ordered his troops to shoot them in case of an ambush. That's how he managed to march through the Angami territory unharmed. With Johnstone's dramatic entrance, armed to the teeth, the British stockade in Kohima was finally secured. Johnstones wanted to attack Khonoma immediately while it was unfortified and ripe for taking. But Chief Commission in Assam had other plans. Wait for reinforcements, kick their asses. Major Evans, ride for Kohima immediately. Take 200 men with you. Hand over this message to Johnstones. Lord, your handwriting is so bad. Johnstones had been named field commander for the Siege of Khonoma. Hi Johnny, I bring men to fight alongside you. And a message from Chief Commission. Wait for reinforcements and lick their asses? Gross. Later on, the Chief Commission claimed that their words were misinterpreted. This sounds more like an excuse looking at how this delay was going to cost them. Anyhow, Johnstones decided to wait. His men busied themselves punishing nearby villages for their revolt, while reinforcements trickled in from Manipur. Khonoma meanwhile made every minute count, turning their village into a fortress, brick by brick and block by block. On November 20th, General Nations reached Sechoma, 10 miles from Kohima. Johnstones and Williamson set off from Kohima. The forces now include 43rd and 44th Light Infantry. The neutral village of Mmhonlumo was picked for halt and turned into a base camp. The troops discussed strategy during the last meal together. The Nagas will strike the officers first. We will be the prime targets. Cover your hats with blue cloth. They won't tell who's who. I won't dress like a common soldier. An officer must be seen. A blue cloth? No thank you. Besides, what could go wrong? That line never ends well. And indeed, it didn't end well for poor Mr. Cobb. Rise and shine, ladies. It's time to attain glory. Can glory wait until breakfast? God save the Queen, and heaven save me from this lot. Boots on the ground, now! Sir! On the 22nd of November, at 4:30 am, the troops were under arms. Captain Williamson, commanding 43rd and 44th Assam Light Infantry, along with 28 Naga Hill Police, was sent to swing around behind Khonoma and cut off any chance to escape. Lieutenant Raban and his rocket batteries were left in a strategic position. A small party under Lieutenant Ridgway was dispatched to counter any skirmishes. The rest of the column crossed the valley between Mmhonlumo and Khonoma. The main body, dragging the mountain gun behind them, inched slowly behind Lieutenant Ridgway towards the government road. The mountain guns were stationed at 1200 yards from the fort. The mountain guns and rockets opened fire together. Oi! Trying to kill us, mate? Yikes! My bad. It was a friendly fire. Very friendly. The cannons had little effect on the Khonoma stone walls, while the rockets fell nearly on the British troops' head. A clear proof that they were useless in such terrain. Lieutenant Raban was signaled to abandon the rocket batteries and rejoin the main column. Colonel Nuttall led 44th Assam Light Infantry against Khonoma. Exchanging a brisk fire with the Angamis, the stone wall held up rather better than British artillery. The British assumed that Colonel Nuttall is having a successful spree. This illusion shattered quickly when rest of the forces arrived at the scene. The ground was littered with dead and wounded. The Angamis lined their path with thorns and bushes. Planted pungis underfoot. And boulders waiting to roll. Every step was a gamble, a kind of Naga hospitality which British didn't expect. Johnstones finally met Colonel Nuttall at the upper fort where Angamis were still putting up a strong resistance. "Colonel, where are your men? This is all what's left of us, including my sleep buddy dead." At that instant, Johnstones could feel the reputation of the Empire trembling, and he could clearly see the writing on the wall. The mountain guns were brought closer to aim at the upper forts, which the Angamis were still defending ferociously. Now stationed at about 80 to 100 yards, the mountain guns now stood openly in line of fire from the Angamis. After hours of pounding the fort with heavy cannon fire, the British gave the order for attack. Two assault parties rushed forward led by 9 British officers. The right column led by Ridgway and Forbes charged forward. Ridgway let out a rallying cry of "Chalo, chalo," meaning come along in Hindi, as he scrambled up the parapet. The Nagas met them with musket, spear and stones. With gravity on their side, their counterattack was brutal. Forbes was struck by a spear, Ridgway took a shot to the shoulder, and Subedar Mir Bir Sahib fell where he stood. Meanwhile, the second column on the left, that is Party 1, tried climbing what was basically a vertical wall. Anyone not shot was hammered back by falling rocks and earth. The terrified men broke ranks and began to retreat. Johnstones tried to rally them, but it was of no use. The men were terrified, and somehow they just couldn't see him. The British were reduced in number significantly. Most of the Naga fire was aimed at the European officers. Major Cock walked slowly towards cover, and just as he reached safety, Major Cock was cooked. "Oh no! Tell my wife I love her. And also delete my browser history." As the sun was about to dip behind the Naga hills, Johnstones grew desperate. The fort of Khonoma still stood defiant. Johnstones decided to lead the final charge with whatever strength he had. "Alright, let's end this today once and for all. On my command, everyone, to me for the final charge!" "Where's everyone?" "Sir, everyone's dead." With every plan collapsing, retreat suddenly looked like the smartest option on the table. Johnstone signaled to Mansell for artillery cover.
Fire!
Under the cover of cannon fire, Johnstones and remaining troops pulled back, clambering over the glooming embers of burning houses. Not exactly the grand retreat they had imagined, but it worked. The hospital at least was safe, but it was already full. In the short time since the assault began, the wounded had poured in. Outside, the dead were heaped together. By nightfall, the British had taken all the lower forts, while the upper forts were still in possession of the Nagas, so the order was given to hold the position for the night. 4 of the 9 European officers were down. Men of 44th lay in hospital in every state, some unconscious, some in agony, some calm, others broken. A quarter of the native rank had fallen, killed or wounded. It was a grim tally. In the morning, they saw the British flag flying over Khonoma. The Nagas had slipped away in the night, retreating to a strong stockade called Chaka, a position even harder to storm. General Nations decided to wait for reinforcements. With so many officers already lost, the chance to strike fast and hard was gone. The siege of Khonoma dragged on further for 4 long months. Finally, in March 1880, a peace treaty was signed between the British and the Nagas of Khonoma. It was here that the final stand of the Nagas ended, bringing the last resistance in the hills to rest. Though Khonoma had fought its share of wars, Kohima was not done with bloodshed yet. Just few decades later, Kohima would witness one of the deadliest battles of the Second World War, a battle often called the Stalingrad of the East. And this time the Nagas were witness as the two empires collide. Mr. G.H. Damant, beyond his role as a political agent, was remembered for his keen linguistic curiosity in the northeast frontiers. He walked through the hills between the Brahmaputra and Ningti, noting the words, the songs, the stories of the people. He even translated Manipuri legends like the Two Brothers and Khamba and Thoibi into English. Most of his work was destroyed during the attack on Kohima garrison. Today, his memorial rests quietly in Khonoma along with other British officers. The legend has it that it was Jidili Haika, an Angami warrior from Thevoma Kale, who was among those who ambushed G.H. Damant. Stories tell that Jidili went into exile after attack, while the village sought to keep his name hidden for generations. He settled and died in exile at Baki, a village in Manipur. Even today, there is a contest among the villagers as to who was the one who fired bullet which fell Mr. Damant. Some say it was another marksman called Vizeru Rore who pulled the trigger. Today, a monolith stands in honor of Jidili Haika within Khonoma. More than a century has passed since those musket and war cries echoed through this valley. Today, Khonoma is no longer a battlefield. It is a village of breathtaking beauty, tidy pathways, surrounded by paddy fields, forests, and mountains. Known as Asia's first green village, Khonoma stands as a model of community conservation. The terraces that once watched battles now feed generations. The hand that once built wall of defense now tills soil of hope. Even when the world offers no clear meaning, we create meaning through how we live. Every generation must redefine what it means to be free. Freedom isn't only political. It's the freedom to think clearly, stand with dignity, and refuse to be reduced to a stereotype. They fought so you could choose. Choose well. Choose curiosity over comfort, creation over consumption, and above all, conscience over convenience. Perhaps that is what it is like to be free. Long before the guns fell silent in Khonoma, the hills had already drawn blood of a British officer. In the north among the Lotha Nagas, a British officer, Captain Butler, had met his end by a spear. And though there was a debate over who fired the shot that felled G.H. Damant, in Voka everyone knew who speared Captain Butler, and that is where I was headed next.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the Angami cultural troupe. Up next, performing for us for the last time here at the 25th Hornbill Festival,